Welcome to Mudville, a podcast about baseball and cinema. I'm Brody Staub.
I'm Nolan Raybine.
We hope you enjoy. Go back like 3 years.
That's not better.
Okay. But is it worse? If they're
Maybe.
if they were from like the last 2 days.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, I guess that would be worse if you had 1,100 text messages in 2 days.
Yeah, no, I'm not nearly that popular. Thank God.
You know who probably does have 1,100 text messages in 2 days is Will Smith.
Will Smith, I would assume, or none.
Or none.
It's one of the
yeah.
other. Because
No happy medium there.
they were not happy with him last night.
No, they were not. Well, anyway, folks, it is March 13th. We have 17 days until Major League Baseball's opening day. 17. It is a dark and rainy day here in Brooklyn.
It's a dark and stormy night.
Yeah, yes it is.
Actually.
And it kind of feels, you know, despite the terrible weather, it does feel like we're kind of getting back into the swing of things here in terms of the World Baseball Classic going on right now. Mm-hmm. We had the 95th Academy Awards last night, and down in Florida, we've got spring training games going on.
Can I just say something before
over.
we kind of jump into everything?
Oh, certainly.
In 5 years, the most insufferable night of television in the history of
We're in for it.
culture is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The 100th Academy Awards is going to be the most pretentious event that has ever happened in the history of culture.
They're not going to leave
God.
their own anal cavity all night.
No, it's going to be bad.
Like, I was trying to even picture, like, what's that going to look like, the 100th annual Oscars, and all that I could really think of were things that they already do every year anyway.
But just longer and like with more gold and white.
Yeah, certainly.
And that's the people too.
Yeah, they will certainly
God.
do whatever they can to
Are they going to do an
associate
in memoriam for every actor who's ever died?
everyone who's ever
Every
died.
actor.
Oh, man. Starting with, like...
Don't forget about Johnny Tucson.
Appleseed.
Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah.
Star of the 1927 silent film.
1927, yeah.
Film.
1927, man.
Yeah.
Ask Damien Chazelle, the end of the silent era, start of the talkies.
Oh, boy.
Do you see Babylon?
I've not seen Babylon yet.
I have seen Babylon.
bad.
I liked it more than a lot of people did. I think so many people thought that it was just sort of nothing. And I did think that it had something to say. And a lot of those things did end up contradicting each other.
I like his other movies.
Me too. That one was not nominated, but as for the movies that were nominated, we're going to get into those in a little bit.
Sure.
But first, how have you been feeling about the World Baseball Classic?
Oh, my God. It's amazing.
It's so great, isn't it?
Amazing.
Global baseball is here.
It's amazing. Today, amazing story. Nicaraguan 21-year-old strikes out like Devers and Soto, and I think, who is it?
Julio Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Julio.
Right afterwards, he gets a contract.
With the Detroit Tigers. Yeah.
Amazing.
What a
That's
story.
So cool. Man, and a kid I went to middle school with, actually. Joe Lasorsa, the pitcher for Team Italy. I saw yesterday. He had this insane celebration, and I was like, yeah, he's the same, just so you know.
He's the guy, yeah.
He's been a nut.
Sure.
When I knew him back then. And, good guy, but I remember a lot of energy for sure, and he still has it, which is good to see.
Well,
especially if you're going to be a pitcher, bring that energy here. He's in the Rays AA system, I believe, also, and now maybe who knows?
Maybe.
The Rays always call weird guys up, so maybe he'll get a chance.
Well, take it from Kihei Kwan.
Cool.
That is the American dream.
It's the American. He's not actually from Italy, but he's not off the boat Italian.
That's the Italian dream.
That's the Italian dream is just a nice dinner.
Be
on
careful.
Sundays,
yeah.
That's all.
Something else.
Good red sauce. That's the Italian dream.
Definitely good red sauce. Something that I've enjoyed seeing.
I cannot eat
quite
other
a bit.
sauce, by the way. My
Really?
mother's sauce is the only red sauce that I can actually.
It's just ruined all other sauces for you.
Like I will eat them. It's just like there's no.
That's just like whatever.
They're bad.
That's
Everything
how
else
I
is
am
bad.
with pancakes.
That makes sense.
My stepdad's pancakes.
Yeah.
His uncle's recipe is incredible.
There you go.
I'm just kind of like,
it's kind of fun.
everything else is like,
There's no point.
Whatever.
No point in eating it. No.
Something else that I've really enjoyed watching the World Baseball Classic
Anyway, go on.
is the number of elite prospects that I haven't really gotten to see too much as someone who has not watched a ton of live minor league baseball games. I've only ever really been exposed to these guys' highlights. Yeah, because usually when those games are on, major league games are also
real
going
baseball on.
Yeah, so usually I go back and see like some of these guys like Harry Ford for Great Britain, who
Yeah,
just
that was cool.
homered today,
Yeah.
and Britain won their first ever game in the World Baseball Classic today. That was pretty exciting.
Big
a kid
Ian.
Yeah,
Big
yes.
Ian. I know he's the star of the game. Him and Harry Ford.
Canada has a few prospects. Owen
Sure.
Cassie from the Cleveland Guardians. I know he's drew a huge crowd today. Edouard Julien. I am not quite sure of the pronunciation there. What I am sure of is the kid is an on-base machine. His walk rate is through the roof. He barely strikes out. He sees the ball very well, and he can hit the shit out of it.
What system is he in?
Minnesota Twins.
Oh,
And he'll be
man.
up this year, yeah. Second base.
Okay.
Yep, he is. Second base was
that
one
why
of
they-
the
that's probably why they
weaker
cleared out
prospect
Arias.
positions right now.
Yeah.
I think it's very realistic to see Edward Julien as a top 5 second baseman in a few years.
Sure. By the way, speaking of middle infield prospects, can we real quick? We are both Yankee fans.
Yep.
We should
Disclaimer.
put that out there.
Sorry.
If you want to
Not
stop
really.
listening now,
Fuck you.
fuck you. Middle infield prospects in the New York Yankees historically have been kind of weirdly good. They have like obviously there's
Name
giant
one.
names. Yeah, shut up. I'm just saying, like they have like a hit rate on middle infielders that's surprisingly like you'd think that they would mess it up more than they do.
Sure.
If they bring a guy up and he's a shortstop or a second baseman, that means they kind of trust him. Like Glaber, they traded for, and he's been
He's been good.
He's been good. People want to
He's been
trade him.
good.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on board with that. I go back and forth. I don't know.
If they deal him, I think it'll be done in the summertime. I don't think it'll be right now.
Sure, I think that's fair. Deadline guy for pitching.
Deadline
Although
deal.
they need pitching now.
It'll
so
certainly depend on how
We'll see what
Oswald Peraza and Anthony Volpe develop.
Right.
They're both looking. Volpe especially is looking super good in spring training right now. I
Absolutely.
do think that's going to be Oswald Peraza's job coming into the season.
Cabrera makes the opening day lineup.
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I
so.
think it'd be next to impossible not to.
And in just a couple weeks, we're going to be watching
Jason
regular
Dominguez.
season baseball again. Oh, please
Jason
talk about
Dominguez is
Jason
going to be.
Dominguez.
He's going to be the number one prospect in baseball by the end of the season. If he doesn't end up being called up, or even if he does, if he's a September call up, let's say an Aaron Hicks gets injured, somebody who's injury prone,
Sure.
maybe Stanton gets injured or something like that. Some guy that they're trusting to
Spot
play
in
the
the
outfield
lineup opens.
Spot in the lineup opens in the outfield. Is there anybody else you'd want to call up? He's 20. He can clearly hit major league pitching.
Yeah, I'm more open to it now than I say I ever really have been before.
Yeah.
I think watching what the Atlanta Braves did last year, calling
Yeah.
up Michael Harris and Vaughn Grissom after just a few AA games each. Both of those guys contributed instantly at a big league level. Obviously, the Braves did not win the World Series last year,
Right.
but I think
Michael
that
Harris is a revelation.
absolutely,
It's unbelievable.
what those guys are
at
doing,
a young age.
what their prospect churn out rate
Yep.
has been, how they've been able to extend their talent, how they've been able to keep those extensions within their own
I wanted to touch on that
media
too.
realm. I mean, it's
Yeah.
they are probably one of, if not the most competent organization right now in the game.
It seems them. You want to still say the Dodgers.
You certainly do.
The Padres are.
But then you look at
interesting.
shortstop, and they've got Miguel Rojas.
They do-
and I'm not
I
sure
like
that's the
Miguel
no.
Rojas.
I do
He's
too.
fine.
I
He's
do
fine.
too. But
Like,
is he?
he's serviceable?
Yeah.
But also their guy
Is he a
just tore
World
his ACL in a
Series?
freak
Yeah.
accident. So like, what are you gonna do?
And they lost Corey Seager.
And they
Trey
lost
Turner,
Corey Seager
you know.
and Trey Turner. There was a thing they lost.
There
like,
was certainly an entire
$500
saga
million
behind
of
it.
shortstops or something like
Yeah.
that. Like, it's insane.
Oh boy.
But speaking of the extending the young prospects, baseball feels like there's like a shift. Corbin Carroll gets 11 years for what, $100-something million?
8 years, 111 million.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Eight for
111.
I knew there was an 11
Yep.
there somewhere. We've never really seen a deal like that for a kid who hasn't played
Yeah,
at the
and
major league level.
It,
So-
Well, we've seen it like a few times with like Luis Robert signed his
Yeah.
long contract.
Acuna is signed, but I think he'd already been
Acuna
up.
and Albies were sort of
Yeah.
the first ones to sign deals
Albies
like
was
that
short,
in,
though.
in terms of position players, and their deals were also not good. Like those
Yeah.
were the most team friendly
Acuna's
contracts
still
possibly.
there's a
ever.
reason.
It's pretty foul.
I get Acuna in every single show franchise. He costs
Yeah,
I don't
he's
remember
cheap.
how much, like 10 million or 15 million, whatever it is.
Corbin Carroll's deal, I think, makes sense for a guy like that, top prospect, to just bypass
can you
all of his
imagine?
arbitration
How old
years
is he?
entirely. He's 22 right now.
Okay, he's 22, so he's way younger than we are. 3 years, so not way younger.
2 for me.
That's fair. I'm turning 25 in 5 days. So,
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Point being, can you imagine at 22 years old staring down the barrel of a $111 million contract and having the balls to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way.
Certainly not.
$111 million. You are set for life already. Done.
And
your grandkids are set already at 22.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
I get it, and I can certainly see
it's genius.
Some of the criticisms of people saying these guys are going to be worth a lot more, so they're taking value for less than they're worth. And I can understand
smart on
that.
the organization's end, though.
I think for
how many teams pitchers
especially
not wanting to pay
like
people?
Sandy Alcantara, and it's not Alcantara, by the way. I found I had been pronouncing Alcantara. It turns out Sandy is Alcantara.
Wow,
but
weird. Kevin,
the prospect in the Cubs system is Alcantara.
Weird.
So we're gonna have to. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
How fun
Sandy
is that? Well,
Alcantara's extension last year.
Brandon Lau and Nate Lowe.
Nate Lowe. That was ridiculous. And they had Josh Lowe was in their system too at that time.
Yep, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Alcantara.
Sandy Alcantara's extension last year, I think that one makes total sense because, that's a guy you're offering him $50 million.
Is that what it was? What did they give him?
I believe it was 6 years for $50 million, and that's certainly less than he's worth.
Wow.
But also, that's a pitcher who could just tear his elbow tomorrow.
He's 28, I want to say.
I think a little younger. I think he's 26.
Really?
I think so.
Okay. I thought he was closer to 30, but
not quite. A pitcher who's under team control, signing a deal like that makes sense. It makes sense for a hitter, too. If you're going to sign a deal like Corbin Carroll's, I would say probably don't sign one like Ronald Acuna's, but that's been our financial corner.
Well, actually, I do want to say one more thing about that.
Do it.
If you're the Yankees who just signed Aaron Judge to your $40 million a year deal, Carlos Rodon is getting a lot of money. Garrett Cole's getting a lot of money. You have money coming off the books at the end of this season. You had some come off last season, but you have these not really four. It's two superstar prospects. Peraza looks good. And then you have, Oswaldo Cabrera should be getting more
tiers here.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Oswaldo Cabrera, literally, I mean, he's the best out of them right now at a major league level because he's got experience.
It's probably the most immediate
impact.
Immediate
guy.
impact, yeah.
We've seen him perform in big moments, too. He had that crazy home in the playoffs last year. Anyway, point being.
We saw him hit a walk-off live.
Yeah, we did. That's right. If you're the Yankees, do you look around and you say, look, what a friggin' mess this whole last offseason was with Judge? How about we just hey, Jason, you want to play with us until you're 29?
Yeah.
Can we just lock you up now?
I would like to see it.
Or Tony, Anthony. Paisan,
Tony.
Maybe. I don't know. Is he Italian? He's from
Jersey.
Oh, he's got to be, right? How old are you now? 21. 21, right? Yeah. Let's slap 10 on you. How about that?
I like it.
How about 10 for 200?
Slap a quick 10.
Slap an easy 10 on there, just so we all know it's worth 20 mil. But just imagine if the Yankees never had to deal with Bernie Williams' old story back in the day, and Mariano Rivera almost left, and Jeter was almost traded. There's
they almost traded A-Rod.
All these stories from back then, they could just avoid all of that. But I think Cashman probably is terrified of long contracts for kids, for unproven commodity.
Yeah. The 95th Academy Awards were last night, and the ghost of Will Smith haunted the show like a specter from the very opening moments. I don't think it worked because I've got to be honest, that was the least exciting Oscars I think I've ever watched in my life.
It was kind of boring.
I've been following the Academy Awards for a while now, for quite a few years, and this was the first one that I really had a hard time caring about at all.
Very
sort of from the jump.
Nobody ever talks about the Oscars to talk about the awards.
Well, that's the thing.
Is the thing about it.
They should, but they haven't done it for so long.
But also, everybody knows that Everything Everywhere won seven Oscars.
Seven Oscars. Yep.
Okay, so then what are you going to say about it? It didn't deserve all of them.
All at once.
Probably all at once.
Yeah.
I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
But that's all I have to say about it. I don't think it deserved all those Oscars. End of discussion.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we had a year's worth of discourse about fucking Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Yeah. Well, we also had a year's worth of discourse about the movie that just won Best Picture last night, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I sort of can't believe how long that movie has lasted in the public memory. One of the things that I certainly wanted to say about that film, and the thing that I think that I appreciate about it, it is a film that I don't really enjoy, and I will get into that a little bit more. I do like the renaissance of actors that had sort of fallen out of popularity or just sort of out of the public eye, like Oscar winner
Fraser,
Michelle
Ki-Hye
Yeoh and
Kwan.
Oscar winner Ki-Hye Kwan. That's
cool.
That's really cool.
I will say somebody had tweeted just the video of Ki-Hye Kwan this morning, just saying, like, look, Mom, I want to not like that.
Yeah, like
a little
that's
heartstring
fine.
pulling on there. Like that's cool. Good for him. I like that. I liked Harrison Ford giving him
Good
a hug
for
when they
him.
won. Like it's cool. It's cool.
I just wish it hadn't been
it's Hollywood. It should feel like
directed by two guys that think they're everybody's fucking camp counselors.
That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
They're a little frustrating.
They are quite frustrating.
Every time they came on stage, it was like, we have to let him talk again.
It's like, we got to hear from these guys again.
Okay, Oscars, hey, listen, whoever the fuck is in charge of this in the Academy, new rule for next year. If you have won twice, no more speeches. You get max 2. You get 2. If you win 6 Oscars, you get 2 speeches.
I'll tell you something that I was so...
If you want to bet, you can bet. If you think that you're going to win Best Picture and you already got 2 other ones, you could be like, I'm going to save it. It's like a challenge. It's like a challenge in football. You want to save it for the second half.
Wow.
Like
strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
They got to add strategy to the Academy Awards.
Bring some like coaching in.
Yeah.
Get Kyle Shanahan in.
Oh, man. Bring him into the mix.
Bring him into the mix. I
Yeah.
want to know what they would do. You need an offensive-minded award winner.
7 Oscars for Everything, Everywhere, All
That's
at Once. 4 Oscars for All Quiet on the Western Front, a movie that I will be honest, I did not watch. I gave it the old who cares because Netflix did not pay me to watch it like they did pay for everybody to vote for it.
I bet it's good.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a good movie.
Put a lot of money on the fact that if you watched it, you'd end up saying afterwards, that was good. But
I bet you would.
I also don't think I want to watch a
I also
3-hour World War I movie in Germans.
2.5 hours.
That's too much. Too much war. I don't need all that war.
I know that war is bad.
War's bad.
I know
We can agree.
They could...
There have been 2 big ones. Well, that we've made a lot of movies about, and then a lot of American ones that we've caused. Where there have been some other really fun movies.
Made movies about how it impacted us.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
because the Vietnam War, we were the victims.
Of course.
We were the victims. But anyway, point being,
just like Iraq.
Oh yeah, exactly. Chris Kyle is the victim of the Iraq War.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, there goes the Republican audience.
Oh no. Anyway. Already?
Yeah, we lost them.
Damn.
That's a shame. Either way, I just find it interesting.
Too many war movies.
It's like every year there's a war movie where it's like, and it's funny because you contrast that with Avatar winning. Which it's the same kind of message. It's like war is bad. We are, be nice to the people who like the environment, but then we don't do that shit. So
strangely, Avatar is like one of the most like politically like spot on blockbusters that I've ever seen come out of America.
It's so
especially the
just
original from 2009
in layers of spectacle that they're expecting kids to not be like, that we should go burn down an oil rig.
They don't notice when the instruments behind the general, the big evil imperious general looks like the American flag.
Right.
But I mean, All Quiet on the Western Front. I honestly started it the other day. I started to try to watch it. I was put off a little bit by the runtime, but I was like, I'm going to give this a try. And 5 minutes in, I realized I just was not in the right headspace for it. I do think it's a movie that I'm going to try to watch it at some point.
Wait, seriously. What? Hold on. Imagine the headspace they needed to be in to just you're curled up on the couch one day and you're like, I need 2.5 hours of war. Sad German men. Give me rain. Give me death.
It could be the next Come and See.
Give me blue
but
tint.
I did not come and see it. I think it'll be a good opportunity just to
give your
sort
thoughts.
of touch on some of the films of yesteryear here that we'll probably never talk about on the podcast again. Or some of them that
Oscar
I might not even
forever.
think about again.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So
they're all winners in my book.
I touched on Everything Everywhere All at Once originally, and I saw it at a time where it had only been hit with overwhelming applause and
Acclaim.
praise and acclaim.
There you go.
People,
You're welcome.
People referring to it as like the best film that they had ever seen.
Here's the thing. I will
letterboxed graph akin to only Parasite, and so like
I liked it.
Sure.
I will say real quick. This is like the only thing I have to say about this movie, because I'm exhausted of talking about it.
Sure.
I saw it twice with two separate groups of people. First time I saw it, walked out of it. We were all like kind of shell shocked. To bring back the
that's fair.
All quiet on the Western Front talk.
Sure.
But we like literally, you walk out of it. Nobody has ever seen a movie like that because they don't get made because it gives you a headache. So you end up walking out and you're like, whoa, that was crazy. I think that was great because it's like different. How many times do you walk out of a movie and you actually think that was something that I've never seen before?
Not too many contemporary movies, at least. Like
not often.
I see like quite a few movies like that, but it's not stuff that's like being made today.
Things that are not on obscure websites that are probably giving your computer a virus.
Never.
Exactly. So that's my point. In a theater, it's not a thing that mainstream audiences are used to.
Very
like seeing
infrequent.
a thing where you just like are hit with a wave of uniqueness.
Yeah.
Like, so the second time I saw it, I was like, you actually put this better in that it feels like a bad episode of Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So the second time I walked out of it, I was like, I have seen this before, and it's like weird
and
fan made.
It was the
fucking
road to
Reddit
that's
shit.
Family Guy.
Yeah.
It was the
Road to the
interdimensional
multiverse
cable.
and
Yeah,
interdimensional cable. Yeah,
I was going to touch on that.
I still think I like that. I want to real quick. I do like the movie. Overall, I like it. If I had never heard a word about it after I saw it, I would have gone on forever thinking that it was a great movie.
Sure.
But then I had to think about it all the time because I am a Twitter addict and people won't shut up about this movie. For some reason, it's not worth talking about this much. It's like a fun movie. You see it once, you enjoy the ride, then you shut up about it forever, and everybody would have liked it. But then here we are talking about it way too long later.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it is
came out.
When I saw it, my expectations were
and very
so
good performances
high.
from all the actors. That's
good
the last
actors.
thing
I'll certainly say that. I'm
fantastic performances.
certainly happy for all of the actors in it. But when I saw the film, I was like, At first, I didn't quite know, and by the end, I was honestly actively mad at what I thought like they were trying to do, and like I was just hit with this like overwhelming
sitting with
feeling
your crossed
of
arms
wait,
with the fucking hot
stop
dog
the
fingers.
Because like
This
I was
is
like,
bad.
Nobody has panned this movie except for me. This is like last
weird.
April, by the way.
It's
and like,
weird that everybody did love it because you'd think like one of those, really actually.
Sure, and that
They
was
really
me.
didn't.
That was me.
That's where you come in.
Yeah, but like
Welcome to the
Brody,
Mudville podcast.
Like Brody said, I did refer to it as a bad episode of Rick and Morty. I called it Reddit. These are all things now that you have heard people say about it several times. The demand that I felt at the time for my dissent just is no longer there. So it's not a movie that I've really cared to talk about for quite some time now. Even going so far as to when I saw James Hong giving that speech about how his first movie was with Clark Gable and they had like actors in like racist, Asian getup. And,
Sure.
He's talking about, for all these people who say that like Asian cinema is not marketable. Well,
Yeah, that
look
was
at us
cool.
now. I was kind of
I
like,
forgot about that. That
all
was
right.
cool.
And at that point, I was kind of ready to just like call a truce on the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of there just because I'm like, whatever, I don't care about it anymore. The only thing I'll say is I do fear that Everything Everywhere All at Once's cultural impact is going to be quite obnoxious.
I think everybody is going to be over it tomorrow.
I hope
Because
so.
today is the day where everyone's like, it won 7 Oscars. And
Well-
then tomorrow everyone will be like, okay.
We can be over
Goodbye.
it, but Hollywood studios might not be over it for another 6 or
Those
7
two
years.
assholes are going to make another movie real soon.
I hope their
And it's
next
gonna be
I hope their next
gonna be so
title is
bad.
like less of a mouthful.
how about you just call it like movie?
Yeah, there we go. Although those would be the guys where if they did it would still piss me.
It would. honestly.
All right, we'll get to that. I
Okay.
want to run through
I
a few
like
that I
benches.
don't think you saw.
Okay,
That I just
go
kinda
ahead.
wanted
You
to
give
mention.
your thoughts. I'll bow out for a sec.
Sure. Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans was a movie that I liked more than I was expecting to, especially through the first 45 minutes, which I felt were sort of nostalgia-driven, overly sentimental, had a bunch of like screaming kids, that sort of like family centerpiece unit that like Steven Spielberg so closely associates with his own cinema. Like he sees himself as the filmmaker for the American family, and in the first 45 minutes
I think he has a right to
Fableman,
think that.
Oh no, certainly. I mean, he's constructed his entire mythology around it, and it's worked perfectly.
Yeah. That's his whole deal.
Yeah, but it hasn't always worked for me, and part of it did not work for me during the Fablemans. But I will say, after the first hour, the rest of the movie just moves. Everything about it, it turns up, it turns on the juice, and I
should see this movie at some point.
It's good. Like, I don't have too much to say about it that hasn't been already said. I mean, the final scene, having David Lynch as John Ford, is just a cheat code. I do think some of the Freudian levels of discourse that this movie has inspired has been sort of funny, like hearing people talk about whether or not or to what extent Steven Spielberg wants to fuck his mom has been kind of funny.
Sure. Oedipian? How would you say? Yeah.
Oedipian. I think that's it.
Oedipian.
Yeah. I don't know.
European.
That's the Fablemans. Tar, I think the best movie nominated. A movie that I think largely depends on the way that you read it. I've seen people reading it in many different ways, and even amongst those ways, the reactions have been somewhat divisive. People have taken it at face value, liked it or disliked it. People have read it completely different, still liked it or disliked it. It's a great movie. It's the best film nominated. Kate Blanchett gave the best performance of anybody nominated.
I like music. So.
Yeah,
the first time I saw an ad for that movie, it was just her smoking a cigarette with like smoke coming up, and it came up Tar, and I was like, "Is this a movie about cancer?
Is it a movie about the tobacco industry?"
I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like
Michael Mann's The Insider,
like a whistleblower thing from the '60s, where it's like we've been lying to the public and they give you cancer, and then it's a composer.
That would have been a twist for this movie.
Yeah, probably. Is that not what happens at the end? I have no idea.
It's great.
Okay. Does it take place in the '60s?
Let's talk about Banshees.
Ooh,
this is a movie that you did see.
I love this movie.
It's so good.
I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it.
It honestly dawned on me last night that I would have given this almost every award. And that wasn't something that I had totally realized until I was sort of going through the list. And I'm like, okay, Best Actor, Colin
And you actually
Farrell,
saw all these movies.
Supporting
so
actor,
that's saying more than me, who also would have given it every single award.
Carrie Condon especially.
I will say, Best Supporting Actress needs to have gone to Jenny the Donkey.
Yes. Yeah.
She was a good donkey.
Carrie Condon.
She was just curious. She saw fingers and she wanted to eat them.
Should have won Best Supporting Actress over Jamie Lee Curtis. If there's one thing that I feel probably the most confident in saying in this inaugural episode of the Mudville podcast, it is that Jamie Lee Curtis's Oscar win will go down as one of the most absurd Academy decisions ever.
Oh my God, Carrie Condon was so good.
She's so good.
How can you stop liking a fella?
That scene.
So good.
Man, that scene where she finally confronts Brendan Gleeson, and she's just so exhausted, and you're all fucking boring.
You're all fucking boring. You're all fucking boring. It's like, we were saying yesterday, it's like when the movie ends, it's just like, well, this is how it is now. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's such a good way to just tie
More
everything
movies
up.
Need to
Nothing
end
happens. It's just this is how it is.
This
Moving
is life.
On. That's the way it's going to be now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so good. Like, that all happened. You know? You burned down my house.
Yeah.
We still live here. Nobody else does, so we still have to be around.
Like, and what's
nobody's
left?
leaving. Oh, it's
Elvis,
so
I don't have a ton to say about it.
Also
I mean, it's
the little Irish kid before we move on. He was so good.
Barry Keoghan. Yeah.
Oh, my God, Barry he was so
Keoghan.
Good. That scene.
That was...
where he
I was blown
asks
away by him.
her, like, you know, if she wants to marry him,
if she'd ever love a fella like me, or whatever.
Would you ever love a boy like me?
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, didn't think so.
Heartbreaking.
All right.
I love kind of the implied
so good.
ambiguity of his fate in the movie. Like, did he do it intentionally? Or did it just sort of happen?
Yeah.
Like,
I know. I thought that was good.
That really hit me.
I think he did it himself, but also he's like not smart. And
no, exactly. So like it could have been anything.
Yeah,
like his dad could have done it.
I know his dad could have killed him. It could have just been an accident, or he could have killed himself. It's like
just the fact that we're even able to have this sort of conversation about the movie.
Great writing.
It's just propels it into the top tier.
That movie was hilarious.
Yeah.
Also, amazing. Like, some of the funniest, like, line. I don't know. I have a lot to say about that movie. And
McDonough
mostly
has
just
such a great. Yeah, he's
mostly praise.
Has a great feel for
actually
comedy.
entirely praise.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say is the accents are a bit thick, but I'm not Irish, so I can't really complain about that.
I can't either. I don't know anything about that.
Yep. I was fine with subtitles.
Elvis, don't have a ton to say that wasn't said back in July by a bunch of other people. When I was watching the movie, I had been waiting for the Britney Spears Toxic medley that I had heard was in it. I did not notice it immediately. I had to go back again, look back and try to find that, which was kind of annoying. Austin Butler wins the Daniel Day-Lewis Method Acting Award. One moment that I did think was super funny in this was how they portrayed the assassination of Martin Luther King.
They talk about that in that movie?
Well, just sort of by like showing the headline very briefly
60s.
and having Austin Butler just be like, "Oh, Dr. King, he always knew what was right." That was it. And then like 5 minutes later,
wow,
Robert F. Kennedy is assassinated. And I was like, are they going to show Austin Butler again being like, Robert F. Kennedy always knew what was right? Yeah.
Wow.
That's Elvis.
Did they?
Top Gun Maverick.
Wait, do they say anything about RFK?
No.
Oh, well.
Top Gun Maverick, that's a movie that just fucking ripped. How many movies can you say that about?
Fair point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
You know what movie does rip?
What?
Major League.
The local press seems to think we'd save everyone a lot of time and trouble if we just went out and shot ourselves.
And
Movie
the
time.
film we're discussing today is 1989's Major League, directed by David S. Ward, for all you
Pumpkins.
David S. Ward auteurists out there.
David S. Pumpkins.
This is a film about the Cleveland Indians, not the name anymore, but that's what it was then. And they've been inherited by former Las Vegas showgirl Rachel Phelps, who does not intend to win with this team. She has inherited the team from her deceased husband.
Yeah, it's Ted Lasso. It's literally Ted Lasso.
I haven't seen Ted Lasso,
It's
but
Ted Lasso.
sure. She doesn't want to win. She wants to relocate the Cleveland Indians to Miami.
To be fair, Ted Lasso is Major League.
Yeah.
But yes.
And she creates the worst team possible to do so. She drags a manager out of a car garage. She recruits aging catcher Jake
Named Ted Lasso.
She recruits aging
Ted
catcher Jake Taylor, portrayed by Tom Berenger.
Who then becomes the
protagonist of
captain?
film. She recruits Ricky Vaughn, portrayed by Charlie Sheen, the fire-throwing reliever who can't see worth a shit and throws like it.
Arguably the best baseball movie, like baseball player, I think, other than Mr. 3000.
Yeah, he's certainly up there. Willie Mays Hayes, the speedster.
Gentile Josh Donaldson.
Pedro Serrano, the spiritual slugger, and an old man for some
what a
reason who
character
throws
he
like
is.
82 miles an hour.
Harris? What was his name?
Yeah, something
Harris
like
or something
that.
Yeah. He's like, I've got like everything all over. He's got like patches of sauces and ointments on his body.
Yeah.
And he's like, anything to help you get a better grip. This is why we needed the sticky checks.
Yeah.
Like,
So anyways, if this sounds like the worst baseball team ever, that's the intention. Rachel Phelps wants to come in dead last. She wants to lose every single game. She says during this rant towards her general manager, "We have not come in third for the last 15 years. One would think you're already good to leave town if that's your history." But
I feel like you're fine. You want to skip town? Go ahead.
But apparently one more year in the cellar is what's going to make it happen. And this is the crew that she thinks can do so.
I love a good 80s movie plot where it's like, this is it. You know, it's like, this is the season. Like, if we're bad again, this is it.
It's just like a particular moment in time.
Couldn't you have already left? It's like, don't analyze. But we're going to analyze.
Yeah. That's what we're here
We are
for.
going to analyze. My biggest problem with this movie,
Sure.
It opens in Cleveland in February, and the sun is shining.
It does open in Cleveland in February. There are some very interesting shots, even, I think, of some of the industrialist scenery around Cleveland.
They show the Guardian statues immediately. It's like one of the first shots of the movie.
Some of those shots made me think of Antonioni's Red Desert, though that was the only shot in the movie that drew that comparison.
I meant to say this earlier, too. I think that this movie was actually an activist piece to get this team renamed the Guardians in 1989. Like, truly. It opens with a shot of the Guardian statues, And throughout the entire movie, they are hammering, pun intended, the whole tomahawk, it's like, get your tomahawks ready and don't get scalped down on at the stadium. It's like, okay, hold on a second. They're like, scalp a
pretty
ticket.
egregious.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How are you trying to be that overt, or is it like,
is that just like how
they
things
were?
were? Yeah.
Like, is it supposed to be real? Is it like, so it's familiar, or are they actually trying to say, like, oh, do you not hear yourselves when you talk like this?
The movie-
it's unbelievable.
The movie certainly works as a cultural artifact,
Yeah.
whether that is intentional or not.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was either.
Late 80s.
Late 80s,
Like, going
yeah.
into the 90s.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Jake Taylor, the protagonist of the film, they recruit him out of Mexico. They call him. He's drunk, hungover in bed.
Yep.
He assumes he's being pranked. He
This
says,
is the
"Oh,
guy
you
from
could have
the
at least said
Cleveland
you were
Indians."
from the
Like, yeah.
the Yankees."
Hangs up. But then he shows up to camp after that.
Yep, he does. He shows up to camp and he
Yeah.
wins over the good graces of everyone who he had to impress. He makes the spot on the opening day roster.
Truly
for
the unlikely hero of
Yeah,
the movie.
he's essentially Stephen Vogt in his last season.
Stephen Vogt.
Stephen Vogt.
Vogt?
Yeah, from 2022.
No G. Well, there is a G, but not
There is a G,
silent
but you can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Um,
Fucking don't.
Yeah.
Dote.
Anyway, this team's opening season starts with a montage of some of the worst baseball you have
Awful.
ever seen.
Willie Mays Hayes is told to actually hit the ball into the ground.
Yeah, that is another thing I wanted to
Yeah.
stress. This manager that they pull
Oh my God,
out of
he's
the
so
garage, he gives the worst advice I've ever heard. He's
To be
like,
fair, Raimel Tapia actually did that, and it worked for him for a season.
Sure.
His launch angle was negative 20. That's not. I'm not joking. I'm pretty sure he had a negative 10 launch angle.
Yeah.
One year. But
that's what Willie Mays Hayes is there to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
He tells Willie Mays
You
Hayes
leg out
not
your
to
singles.
hit the ball in the air. He
Yeah.
pees on his third baseman's medical report, and this
yeah,
is
he
the
did
first
do
day of
that.
spring training, folks. So not a manager who particularly has that winning mindset.
No.
You would think.
No, not particularly. No.
Willie Mays Hayes shows up. This is a character Wesley Snipes portrays him.
Yeah.
Speed.
They forgot
demon.
about him for half the movie.
They did. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Yep.
He shows up in spring training. They
You're like, who's this fun
they,
character?
kick him out of
he's
bed
interesting.
because he didn't have his papers or something. He wakes up the next
No.
morning
They
on
carried the
baseball
bed
field. Yeah,
out
they-
of
they-
the barracks.
carry
that the
the
team
bed.
is sleeping in for some reason.
They carry out the bed with him in it. He wakes up the next morning outside of the team's field while practice is going on, and he impresses the coaches with his blazing speed.
Elite
So,
speed. Although he really is I think he's a one-tool player.
yeah, he is the true one tool player,
a single
real,
tool guy.
Opening
real
day,
quick.
Yeah,
If you had to guess, give me a budget estimate on this movie.
$2 million.
2?
Yeah.
11.
Oh, I should have.
It's a big
Cast
name
budget,
cast.
I guess,
Big
yeah.
name cast.
Opening day comes around. The Cleveland fans are dwindling. The announcers are drinking alcohol, actively criticizing the players.
I loved the
groundskeepers are calling them shit. Yeah, Bob Uecker in this movie, low-key kind of the MVP of the film, as the announcer was
Yep.
saying shit like just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah. Great movie. Great movie, great character. This is followed up by a montage with some of the worst baseball I have ever seen in my life. A team that cannot hit, cannot pitch, cannot run,
They can't do anything.
cannot field.
Awful.
This cuts
It's like T-ball.
immediately to the fact that they have somehow
They're
won
20 and 40.
15 of
Or
their
15.
first 39 games. They are 15 and 24.
15.
To me,
15, that's not even a bad record
No.
for that far into the season.
to me,
15 and 24.
I mean, it is a bad record, but to me, that is even more
You're 9
absurd
games
than,
under.
than being.
It's not good.
This team was 500 through 120 games. To me, being 15 and 24 after that,
Give me
To
a
me-
team who's going to hit 15 and 24 this season.
Kansas City maybe.
I was thinking that
Detroit.
too.
Yeah,
But no. I think they're worse than that,
Maybe.
actually. I feel like a team, the Red Sox will be 15 and 24.
I'd love that. That'd make me happy.
And they're going to be equivalent to one major league Cleveland Indians 1989 team.
Something else I wanted to say, Tom Berenger, the star of the movie, doesn't have to do anything. Like,
No.
he was able to just phone in this
He does
entire
nothing.
performance. The entire movie, he's just playing a guy.
You know what
he
he
doesn't
does?
have to yell. He doesn't have to, give any super belabored faces. He kind of
really
just has to
doesn't, now
chill.
that I think about
He
it.
just like shows up. He's wearing like a regular outfit. He's like, come on,
wearing a
team.
shirt.
Yeah.
Like-
He shows up to win back his wife. He's wearing a...
Oh, he
like,
did have to wear a
he's wearing
baseball uniform at one
baby
point.
blue t-shirt
Yeah.
to this like dinner with her and her new man and their friends, and like he shows up.
He's like snobby,
And he
or
just
his
makes
ex is, who, by the way, she gave up athletics and now her life is all about books.
Yeah, that is a direct line from the movie. There's a scene where he shows up to the library to
Olympian.
try and win her back.
She was an Olympic swimmer.
And she delivers the line, "Books are my life now."
No. It's I don't care about athletics anymore, or something like that. Or I stopped caring about athletics 3 years ago. Books are my life now.
Books are my life
Which
now.
is the funniest thing I think I've ever heard.
He wins her back by saying that he's read Moby Dick
Yeah.
cover to cover.
Fellas, pay attention.
Yeah, for real.
You want to get a lady.
You want
better
action.
You
Read about Queequeg.
best top up on your
That-
early 20th century
That's what we're
American
into.
literature.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen in this movie is a very interesting character.
He really is.
I-
It's Charlie Sheen before he was winning.
So yeah, it's before he was winning, but it's also like there's a moment where here's the thing actually with this scene, and I just thought about this when who is it? It's the third baseman,
Dorn.
Dorn's wife seduces Charlie Sheen,
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn, in a bar, and she goes up and she goes, "You are the most attractive human being I've ever seen." And then the camera cuts, and it's just Charlie.
It's Charlie Sheen just kind of sitting there.
He's like,
It is a really jarring cut.
if you can't see my face, I'm pursing my lips. It's like he just does like the Charlie Sheen face, and then it cuts to them,
Doing the nasty.
doing the nasty.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. It's just really funny that like he's this huge hotshot pitcher, and he wears these goofy glasses.
Who they
And it's
pulled out
like-
of jail.
They pulled him out of prison. Yeah.
What league are you in? California Penal.
It's actually really
That is a good line.
There's genuinely, this movie is pretty well written.
Oh, it's a very funny movie.
It's really good. It's as weird as like and over the top, like a guy like Serrano's character is like,
Yeah.
all right, dial it back a little bit.
Probably
Like,
one of the more problematic characters in the movie.
like holy crap. Although Jake Taylor does like show up in his ex's apartment like 3 times.
There are 3 or 4 different scenes in the movie where he just walks
just
into his
walked
ex-wife's
in.
house.
She's like engaged.
Yeah.
Like.
Like, not that is a like qualifier for any of this.
Well,
but,
no,
like
it's just that like it's not like a cute like running into your
No.
ex when they're both kind of still
Like-
into each other. Like she's engaged.
you were divorced.
They're
and
divorced.
He
She
walks into
clearly
his-
is
her
not
house
about it.
in
Like,
full uniform.
yeah, wearing spikes.
one point,
By the
yeah.
way, she has hardwood floors.
At one point, she
Baseball
just
cleats are
turns
metal
around
spikes. You're gonna
and-
ruin her hardwood flooring.
and he's in her house in full uniform.
Terrible.
Yeah. You could just sense
And then they
every
start
time they were
banging.
like, okay, we got to go from like baseball back to the like love portion of
Well,
the movie, but
yeah.
we don't have time to make it make sense. So fuck,
Here's
he just
Jake
walks into
Taylor,
her house.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They start like making out while he's in full uniform,
Because he read Moby Dick.
and because he read Moby Dick.
That's
Moby Dick.
important to
And
clarify.
then it's assumed that he then had to take off an entire game-worn baseball catcher's outfit before immediately, getting in bed with this beautiful woman who's an Olympian.
Yeah.
Like, is she
Taking
not
off
like?
that-
Can
that
you
would take at
shower
least 10
first?
minutes.
For
Yeah.
hold on a second. Go out, go into the bathroom, take your jock strap off. I don't want to smell that thing. Get in the shower for 20 minutes and then we'll talk.
Over the course of the movie, Ricky Vaughn has a huge problem beating the Yankees, particularly their slugger, the Duke, who has too much of a beard, by the way.
Yeah,
I
way
just
too
wanted
much
to
of a
point
beard.
that out.
It's like
But-
CC at the end of his career
Yeah.
type beard, type beat.
So, of course, at the end of the movie, they have to face the Yankees, and Ricky Vaughn is facing the Duke.
The
for
Yankees were bad
poetic
in the
justice.
80s,
The
too.
Yankees
It's
were
funny.
so bad in the 80s.
They could hit, but they couldn't
Like,
pitch. My dad says it all the
The
time.
character was so clearly based on Don Mattingly, and it's like Don Mattingly's Yankees were just not like the powerhouse
Yeah.
that they're portrayed as in this movie.
It's really funny.
But hey, it's a movie, so you got to beat the Yankees.
It's true. It's like we got to go in and beat Miguel Cabrera's Tigers.
Yeah, well,
They hadn't won the World Series in years.
of course, this being an 80s movie, of course, this lovable ragtag group of misfit toys finds a way to win. They are 60-60 through 120 games. And then they find out the bombshell, which is that their team's owner assembled this team to lose. And that
It
they were
all
only put
comes
together
out.
because they didn't think that they would win a single game. And how did they
They're
react to this?
500, by the way.
Do they quit? Yeah, this is already like, it's already beyond obscene that this is a 500 baseball team.
It's
But
unbelievable.
they haven't come in the top 3 in 15 years. So
Right.
this is already the
It's
Indians' best.
It is the best they've
season
performed
since
in a long time.
1973.
The fact that this team is 500
Since
should
the rich-
immediately mean that this lady cannot move the team, because Cleveland would be like, "We're back! Like we got it now."
They're clearly already in the midst of their best season since the Richard Nixon administration. This does lead to one of the
I don't remember 2016.
the more pump up moments in the movie, which is when
Mm-hmm.
Jake Taylor delivers the line, "Well, there's just one thing we got to do: win the whole fucking thing."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get into the playoffs. We just kind of get right into it.
Yeah, they're tied with the Yankees for first place. It's the last day of the season, and they have a game 163.
yes.
And so now, my favorite part about this movie, I like this movie. I
Yes,
want to just
yep.
make that very clear. It's a
But
fun movie.
we do have to point this out.
But the whole, like the big celebration, the big moment, the huge final showdown is a game 163 between two teams just vying for home field advantage in the ALCS. That's
which is they're
like,
going to have to play each other again.
they lit the next game that probably like 3 days later they have to play each other.
Yeah, I mean, well, we should say what happens.
Yes,
The Yankees take a 2-0 lead. They reach the 8th inning. Cleveland has not put any runs on the board until Pedro Serrano converts to atheism and immediately hits a 2-run home run to tie the game. And then
He does forsake his.
what
was it?
he
Jobu.
says, "Fuck you, Jobu."
Yeah, and then he
goes deep.
just like cranks a nuke.
Yeah, Cleveland takes the lead. Ricky Vaughn comes into the game. He faces the Duke.
Yep.
He strikes him out on 3 fastballs with the unbelievable
Oh.
fastball of 101 miles an hour.
Yes, which actually does. I mean, well, to be fair, I mean, like even now, if a dude is throwing 101, you pay attention.
Oh, yeah,
like,
it's
I mean,
true.
You know, but
But-
I mean, at the time, it was probably unbelievable
At the
because
time,
he
that was like
relieved
107.
the old man,
Yeah, it
who
was-
literally is throwing like 60-mile-an-hour batting practice meatballs to the Yankees,
who only scored 2 runs
They
off of
somehow
that the
only scored
entire
2
game.
runs.
Like they're basically throwing Jamie Moyer now.
Yeah. 2023 Jamie Moyer, Dick Mountain,
Yeah. Dick Mountain.
old man Rich Hill.
Anything else to say about Major League?
Well, just they win, and then somehow
Quite the
Jake
abrupt
Taylor. Well, Jake Taylor does a called shot.
Oh, he does.
Don't
That's
forget.
true.
He and then he bunts,
He bunts. Yeah, he does a called
you
shot
forget.
and then bunts,
which is really
And-
funny.
Yeah,
And then it's like,
that's,
he is,
we should
his-
say how they took the lead.
I forgot that his like there's a whole thing where like the reason that he was in the Mexican League and like he's out of baseball, his knees were shot, so he can't really run anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that he does 2 things in this movie other than make out with his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And claim to have read Moby Dick. He runs around the bases in an empty stadium. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Like
I do
it's-
remember that.
He's just like bottom of the night. You know,
He
like,
was
like
like
every
Jake
kid,
Taylor at
yeah,
the plate,
like a
yeah.
little kid in your
And
backyard
then you
when
see
you're like
Willie
bored.
Mays Hayes and Ricky Vaughn like
they're
making
like
fun of him.
Yeah, and they're like all of a sudden friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Too,
They're
which
just
is
like
fun.
boys now.
Yeah, it's like, wait, didn't you all like hate each other? Do you know each other now?
Yeah.
It's like, how far into the season are we?
Camaraderie.
Yes. So Jake Taylor does like a little, like peppy jog around the bases. And then the other thing that he does in this movie is leg out a bunt at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And he's like in clear pain, like he's grimacing through the whole thing. And then
The facial expressions here are clearly
He
the
did
most
make a
Tom
face.
Berenger
You
had
said
to
he
act in this
didn't-
entire movie.
You said he didn't have to make a face. He made a face.
He did make a face.
Made a face.
He makes this face. It's true.
He definitely made a face. And then, he gets the runaround, and that's it. And then he sees his ex-wife. I forgot about this part, too. Sees his ex-wife in the stands, who then shows that she has a bare left ring finger because he read Moby Dick. And then he runs into the crowd again, completely gross post game, and they just they make out in the stands.
They're back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
After
Very unearned romantic
weird.
climax
It's a weird
here.
thing.
Yeah.
But hold on.
that part of
What
the
was
movie
at
just doesn't
stake?
work at all.
What was at stake? Home field advantage.
Home field advantage.
All
All
right.
right.
To win the whole damn thing. They didn't win the whole fucking thing. We don't know if they won the whole fucking thing.
We just gassed all of our pitchers with names. So, yeah.
It's fun.
Well,
Fun movie.
Major League.
Yep.
That is, hey, I think we've just about done it.
I think we
I
have.
think that's just about the inaugural episode of the Mudville podcast, a podcast about baseball and cinema.
Yes, it was.
I have been Nolan Rabine.
I have been Brody Stout.
Goodbye.
We'll catch you next time.